What's going on, everybody? Cody here, and we are recapping a super wild card weekend in the NFL by taking a look at the 5 guys who saw their stock go way up in the hobby this weekend. Super Wildcard Weekend is now in the books. 6 different games, a historic weekend in the NFL. Some of those stars in the NFL seem to shine brightest in the spotlight. Some kind of got lost in the moment. A lot of different storylines to get into. Hell, there was even a game on Nickelodeon this weekend. It got me feeling all nostalgic for like Legends of the Hidden Temple and Double Dare and Rugrats. And if you're looking for something to collect in the hobby this year to change things up, there's Nickelodeon cards out there. I'm just saying, don't come crying to us when that SpongeBob PSA 10 rookie card starts to go for $1,000 more on eBay. But let's stay squarely focused on the NFL. Yes, pun very much intended. Let's talk about the 5 guys that over the weekend saw their stock go up in the hobby. And let's start with 2 guys on the LA Rams, Cam Akers and Jared Goff. Let's start with Akers. It was an up and down weekend for star running backs over the weekend. Derrick Henry, a guy who had 2,000 yards rushing in the regular season, a back-to-back rushing champion, was basically nowhere to be found in the Titans' loss against the Baltimore Ravens. Alvin Kamara had a good day in a mostly forgettable game in New Orleans. But it was Cam Akers, the rookie running back in Los Angeles, who had the big day. And he really had to with QB troubles with the LA Rams heading into the game. They needed to rely on Akers to really have any chance of winning, and he showed up big time. 131 yards on the ground and a rushing touchdown for Cam Akers. He was the offensive star for the Rams. And other than a huge performance against New England, he's just been pretty good to average this season. Has not had that major moment. He's been getting a lot more carries as of late. And he looks to be, even with Jared Goff now in at QB, he will probably be the guy that they rely on if they're going to go any further in the playoffs. Now, speaking of Goff, he was not supposed to play. He had that thumb injury. He had thumb surgery. But he comes into the game. He becomes just the second QB over the last 30 years to throw at least 15 passes coming off the bench in a playoff game. And he leads them to victory. I know the stat line isn't sexy. I think he went 9 of 19, didn't even pass 200 yards passing, but that is the kind of gutsy performance that I'm sure will play well with a lot of people who had doubts about what kind of player, what kind of leader Jared Goff is. Goff and Akers, by the way, easily the 2 most affordable cards that we're going to be talking about on this list. So if you feel like maybe they've got a shot against the Packers, might not be a bad time to invest in one of these 2 guys. I mean, they do play in LA, and the lights do shine brighter there. We've seen LA sports right now is having a moment. Maybe not the worst idea to get in on Goff and Akers early here. The next 2 guys we're going to talk about are 2 guys who are going to face off against each other in the divisional round. That would be Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen and Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson. Both were part of the 2018 NFL draft class, a QB class that is now starting to shape up to be the best since the 2004 draft. You know, the one where Phillip Rivers and Eli Manning and Ben Roethlisberger all went in the first round. We are starting to see that level of talent on display here for this 2018 draft class. Josh Allen has been playing MVP level football all year long, and that continued against the Indianapolis Colts in a tight contest in Buffalo. The Bills getting their first playoff win since 1995. Bills Mafia in full effect, and Josh Allen is the reason for the resurgence. He has been spectacular for them. Allen's value in the card market has been steadily on the rise all season long for good reason. If he can find a way to get past the Baltimore Ravens and then Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, presumably, the sky is the limit for what his cards are going to go for come February. On the flip side is Lamar Jackson, a guy who was the MVP just a season ago, and yet kind of saw his value take a pretty good dip about mid-season this year. Didn't look like the Lamar Jackson of 2019. He had some bumps in the road. But something clicked during that bye week for Lamar Jackson. In Lamar Jackson's last 5 regular season games after that bye week, he averaged a QB rating of 110.6 per game, 11 touchdown passes overall, 4 rushing touchdowns, and averaged 86 yards on the ground. Lamar Jackson was a top 5 rusher this year, largely thanks to a huge performance at the season's end. Now, it wasn't the prettiest game for Lamar Jackson. His passing numbers don't jump off the page, but if you watched him, he was a leader on the field against the Tennessee Titans in an upset victory, and of course a 48-yard touchdown run near the end of the first half certainly helps his cause as well. This is an MVP we're talking about here. The only thing that was really going against him was a lack of playoff success. But he's only 24. He's been in the playoffs 3 times, and he's only 24, and he's got an MVP. If Lamar Jackson had a Super Bowl victory already, we'd be talking about him in the same sentence as Patrick Mahomes, and for good reason. This guy is an electric player, one of the most exciting in the NFL. I don't think any team wants to face the Baltimore Ravens right now. I don't think the Buffalo Bills do, as good as Josh Allen has been. If they can get past them and even get to the Super Bowl, things are looking very good if you've got Lamar Jackson in your personal collection right now. And finally, the darlings of the NFL, the Cleveland Browns, 28-0 after the first quarter, and in the most Browns way possible, nearly blew it and end up winning 48-37 against the previously 11-0 Pittsburgh Steelers. And the guy leading the way is Baker Mayfield, another guy that I think we just wrote off way too quickly. The first season had a lot of people optimistic, 7-8-1, and then a 6-10 second season, I think, had a lot of people writing him off way too fast. But Baker Mayfield is looking like a leader of this team right now, and he was their best offensive player on the field against the Steelers on Sunday. Is Baker Mayfield as good as Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, or the guy he's going to face this weekend, Patrick Mahomes? No, he's not. But unlike those other guys, he is on a team that is the biggest underdog that we've seen in years in the NFL. The Cleveland Browns are the closest that the NFL has had to a Chicago Cubs or Boston Red Sox curse-breaking championship run in a long time, and Baker Mayfield is front and center. The Browns' reputation as a perennial underdog, coupled with Baker Mayfield's on and off the field personality, I think makes for a huge potential if the Browns can make it to the promised land. Which players are you watching in the divisional round? Let us know on our Twitter page at MojoBreakM who you like in the second round, who you're collecting here in the NFL playoffs. Of course, make sure to like this video and subscribe if you want to see more like this. And of course, go over to Mojobreak.com for all of our live breaks. We'll see you guys. Enjoy the playoffs.